Nelson, Diaz, and Lalo as well. Pagan will get things started for the Mets.
I got to find out what diet Joe West was on, because I mean, he looks really good, and I'm glad to see it. And it's so important for umpires to stay healthy. And man, what a change for him.
He's a new man. Angel Pagan hopes to be the same man that he was a year ago as he takes the first pitch outside. And we're underway here from Champion Stadium. Winds are calm. Beautiful weather. And both these teams chomping at the bit to get started. Opening day just a few days away. Ball and a strike as Pagan fouls it away.
What a year Angel had last year with Carlos Beltran going down. He tore the Atlanta Braves staff up all season long. He had a lot of success against the Braves, but he gives you speed on the bases, and he can play a good center field. I mean, he covers a lot of ground.
Saws off the handle there for strike two on the foul ball. He's a guy, you saw the age. He's in his late 20s and basically came onto the scene last year. You think of a guy in his early 30s like Andres Torres, what he meant to the Giants last year. Sometimes these guys, the learning curve is a little bit longer than your average player, but once they get up, they make the most of their opportunity.
Well, Mike, a lot of times just the opportunity. You just said it. Those young guys don't get that opportunity because you have, a team like the Mets.
Bouncing ball to second. Conrad is there, one away.
A team like the Mets, they go out and sign these big-time free agents every year, so those guys kind of go under the microscope for a long time. And Angel finally got his opportunity the last couple of years with the Mets. And, wow, the Mets didn't miss a beat in center field last year.
It's going to be extremely hard to keep him out of the lineup on a regular basis. There's been talk about playing him and Beltran at the same time. Brad Emis, the second baseman, jumps on the first pitch, cut off by Chipper. Guides it across for out number two.
And again, one of the question marks, that need for Chipper, but he shows his range right there. Running over to his left and reaching out there and making a good play. And he still has the quick feet, able to move around pretty good down there.
Well, here is one of the veterans on this Mets squad, Willie Harris, who's got a few tags on the luggage. He's been around a while, and it seems like everywhere he winds up, he produces.
Well, last year he struggled a little bit with the Washington Nationals, only hitting 183. But if you look at his home run total, 10 home runs. For Willie Harris, that's a lot of home runs, and he did those in big situations. Pinch hitting late in the game. So, I mean, he still gets it done, and I think this is a good pickup for the Mets.
Again on the ground. Tough hop for Freeman. Nice scoop to Lopez, who steps on the bag for out number 3. 1-2-3. Nothing across for Rodrigo Lopez. The Braves infield active early. The Braves lineup coming up next. Is Macias, and the starting pitcher is a guy that pretty high on, Pat Mish. 2-0 last year with a 3.86 earned run average. That's actually the spring training numbers for this year. Last year an effective season for Mish, primarily out of the bullpen, although he was a spot starter and had a very good start in the final game for the Mets against the Washington Nationals. Now, the skipper today will be Carlos Tosca. And Carlos Tosca making his way to Atlanta with Freddie Gonzalez. Freddie Gonzalez with the split squad for Atlanta. He'll be back tomorrow, as we understand it. Mish on the mound, the left-hander, as Martin Prado digs in.
What a good addition, Carlos Tosca. He's been around a long time, but was assistant managers under a lot of good guys. And man, I talked to him earlier today, and he's excited about this season.
Prado, hot shot, fielded cleanly by the third baseman Adams. That was an absolute sizzler off the bat of Prado.
Inside fastball from the left in front. That's a great play by Russ Adams. I think that ball caught him.
And Adams is a guy who came out of the University of North Carolina as a shortstop. That's how he was drafted by the Toronto Blue Jays. So third base is still relatively new to him. But a nice job there, kind of a self-defense play. And that'll equate to out number one for the Braves. Now Nate McLouth. And every time, if you're a Braves fan, it might be spring training, but every time you see Nate McLouth have a good at bat, it's more and more encouraging that he can lock down that center field job and maybe fill the final hole in this lineup. Little dribbler. And toss to the covering Mish for out number two.
I talked to Nate earlier today. I mean, he feels really good. You can see his confidence is back. He's smiling, and he hit some bombs out over right field fence in batting practice. And you see the guys just having fun. And last year, Nate was not doing that. I mean, he was really pressing, and he was not having fun, not smiling a lot. And he sure wasn't hitting the home runs last year. But this year, I mean, I'm looking for him to do some good things.
Chipper Jones all smiles meanwhile. Having a terrific spring thus far. Going back to Nate McLouth for a second. Last year was almost like a 7-month trip to the dentist chair. I mean, you didn't see him smiling. You could tell he was pressing. The fans were on him. And I don't think there was anybody more excited about the start of a new season than McLouth. And this guy's pretty excited about a new campaign as well, as Jones scorches one to deep center field. Pagan racing back. It is off the wall. Jones will cruise into second with a 2-out double as he continues to knock the baseball all over the park, left, right, and center, and do so for extra base hits.
And here's this fastball, about 86 miles an hour, and Chipper stays back and just clobbers the ball straight away. In batting practice, him and the young guys were just having so much fun. He hit one over the clock in batting practice, and that's when you know Chipper is ready to go.
Cook's Pest Control, who's hot right now in the National League, Chipper Jones, in his last 5 games, hitting .600, a pair of homers, 7 RBIs. That's the 7th double for Jones in the spring. He's already got 18 hits. And now Jason Hayward. The back is good, and the swing was awfully good when we last saw him on Thursday. He cranked one over the porch in right center field.
Pat Mish reminds me so much of Tom Glavine. He's not going to overpower you with that fastball, but he's going to locate well, moving that fastball in and out.
A healthy cut right there. This is what Jason Hayward did on Thursday night. Tom Coffey tried to throw him a fastball. It didn't work out too well.
And that was after the doctors gave him the good news. He's going to be okay. And he showed the doctors that they were right.
Hayward waiting the 1-2 pitch. And just off the plate inside, says home plate umpire Jeff Nelson. The Braves coming in 13-7 with a couple of ties mixed in. The Mets 10-11. And fills up. 3 balls, 2 strikes on the J. Hay kid.
See Pat just trying to work the inside on Jason Hayward. Jason has such a good eye. He's not going to go for that pitch.
Last year, runners in scoring position, Jason Hayward, 306. Pretty good numbers for a rookie. And draws a walk here.
It's just great patience by Jason Hayward. You get 2 strikes. He never panics. He still waits for that one pitch. And if he doesn't get it, you see, walk. Great on base percentage last year for Jason.
David Ross, who was born in Bainbridge, Georgia, signed with the Braves back in December of 2008, and he is now signed through 2012. Inked a contract extension near the end of last year. And they love what this guy can do, not only when he's playing, but also just a great clubhouse guy as well.
Tell you what, he's always cracking jokes, keeping everybody loose, and he's just fun to be around. In batting practice early, he was cracking jokes on certain players and hitting home runs over the wall and bragging about his muscle and power.
Birthday boy.
Wow.
34 years young is David Ross.
You always hit a home run on your birthday, Mike.
That's the rule?
That's the rule.
Two and one of the Braves catcher. Freddie Freeman has a bat on deck. Now 3-1.
A little change up away. Good eye by David Ross. And Pat Mish has to watch video of Tom Glavine because it's identical. He's not going to give in to the hitter.
Routine grounder to short. And Mets will go the short route for out number 3. So the side is retired. The Braves strand a pair. We played an inning. No score here from Champion Stadium. Scoreless game through 1, and as the temperatures climb, that ice cream is looking pretty good. Nice move by the young girl out there in the stands.
She's just enjoying that ice cream. Bring some up to us.
Absolutely. There'll be an abundance of cold beverages being sold here today at Champion Stadium. Temperatures expected to get up to about 85 degrees. Starting to feel more and more like baseball weather and baseball season. Well, we've seen some very talented rookies over the last few days for various teams, including the Braves. And here's a guy that was a finalist last year for the Rookie of the Year award, Ike Davis.
Upcoming star for the Mets. I saw him make some great defensive plays last year, falling into the dugout, concentrating, making some awesome catches.
uncoils that one and slaps it foul. Of course, Jason Hayward finished second in the Rookie of the Year award last season. What a terrific crop of rookies we had in the National League in 2010. The winner was Buster Posey, and he didn't come up till late in the year, but he was so good for the Giants it was hard not to give him the award.
Well, he just changed their whole season around because they were struggling, and then when he came on the scene, it was just a whole new San Francisco Giant ball club. He made a huge impact.
You had John Leake, the pitcher of Cincinnati. There's a look at the guy who finished in second place in Jason Hayward. And in most years, he would have won it hands down.
Well, it's a lot of controversy.
This is blasted to center field. Long run from McLeod. Can't catch up to it. Has to play it off the base of the wall. And Davis will slide into second. It'll be a stand-up double for the Mets.
That's a bullet. Fastball right down the middle. He stayed back well, showing his power. I mean, this kid is something special.
He's got a lot of Mets fans excited. We already talked about Pagan. I mean, there are some young players in the Mets lineup that have people excited. Look, I mean, let's be honest about it. When they put together that team of superstar veterans and spent all kinds of money on it, they didn't get the results that they wanted, and that's a big reason why you've got to change with a new GM and a new manager. As the pitch is grounded foul by Nieuwenhuis. But now I think if you're a Mets fan, you've got to be excited about some of these new young talented players, and I think you're going to see a new attitude in New York this season.
Well, for Terry Collins, and you look at some of the moves they made, it wasn't a big splash this offseason for the Mets, but you bring in a Chris Young, who was injured for most of the season last year, coming off of Tommy John surgery. And he was really, really good with Texas Rangers and with San Diego before his injury. If he comes around, which so far this spring, it looks like he's the old Chris Young, and Campiano is another guy that they brought over. You look at that starting rotation, all of a sudden it's starting to look pretty decent. And it didn't cost the Mets anything. So if you're Terry Collins, you got to be feeling pretty confident about going into this season with Angel Pagan. If Carlos Beltran comes back healthy and he's the old Carlos Beltran. David Wright, we know what he can do. He's so consistent, all-star player, and continues to be the leader on this ball club. But Ike Davis, a lot of young players are starting to really perform for the Mets and open some eyes.
1-2 to Nieuwenhuis as Lopez checks and fires. But you mentioned some of the young arms and some of the guys that they're taking chances on, like Chris Young, who when healthy can be a dominating pitcher. Of course, the anchors of the staff, Johan Santana, one of the tops in baseball, though he's been injured of late, and there's still question marks about how many starts he's going to be able to have this year. And of course, Mike Pelfrey is a guy that every year seems to be knocking on the door to be one of the best arms in the National League. He just has to put it all together for a full season. Nieuwenhuis stays alive, cues that one foul. 1-2 the count.
And even a move of bringing Willie Harris, you know, as that utility outfielder. I mean, that's going to help this ball club.
How about the job by R.A. Dickey last season?
Wow, that's one of my favorites. I played with him back in Texas, and he's one of those guys that keeps the clubhouse loose and reinvented himself.
He's a knuckleballer now.
Yes. And he is doing very well. He was probably, arguably, the ace of last year, along with Santana.
And particularly down the stretch, he really, during a good portion of the second half, became the most reliable arm that the Mets had. Still nobody out. 2-2 pitch, sharply hit, smothered by Conrad. A nice play by Brooks Conrad, who had a couple of errors yesterday, and there's still people talking about his defense after the postseason last year, but this is a blue star play.
Excellent play. Diving to his right, and the presence of mind to just jump up and throw a bullet to first base. And, you know, I'm a big fan of Brooks Conrad. I know all the struggles last year during the playoffs, But you put a young guy in that situation who probably didn't even think he would be in that situation. It's tough. It's not an easy task. I know he's working extra hard defensively down here, and I'm just pulling for that young man. I think he's going to be a good defensive player, and he's going to help this Braves team win a lot of games.
Drawn in infield. The Mets backstop. Mike McKayis at the plate. Hitting a .115 through 11 games thus far. The Mets are really happy with their catching situation with Josh Tolley and Ronnie Paulino. So they've got a pretty good duo cooking right now in New York. Scoreless game. We're in the second. Alongside Brian Jordan, I'm Mike Organ. Glad to be with you on a beautiful Saturday afternoon here in Central Florida. Another great crowd here at Champion Stadium. This ballpark seats 9,500, but then you see fans taking in the berm out there in left field. We might have close to 10,000 here today.
Nothing like watching a game from the berm, laying out, getting some sun, and waiting for that home run to be hit your way.
It's kind of funny. The home run balls that we've seen thus far, many of them have come to straightaway center field, and usually that's where fly balls go to die in this part.
It all depends on that flag, which way it's blowing.
McKay is ready for the 1-2 from Lopez and takes it high. Rodrigo Lopez, I mentioned, the 2002 runner-up for the American League Rookie of the Year award. Of course, the guy that won it, current Brave, Eric Hinsky. That year, Rodrigo Lopez, 15-9, a .357 earned run average. And a lot of people thought that the Baltimore Orioles had themselves an ace, but since then it's been kind of a bumpy road for the right-hander. 2-2, a comebacker. Nice stop by Lopez. Keeps the runner stranded at third with 2 gone.
Good job by Rodrigo. He didn't panic right there. Ball came off his glove and landed underneath, but he stuck with it, and he actually looked Ike Davis back over to third base. It's a good PFP, baby. That's why you do it.
Well, it's kind of funny you mentioned that, because that's something that Freddie Gonzalez has really instilled in this year's team. They're doing a lot more PFP than years past. This is Russ Adams, former first-round draft pick. And, you know, it's never fun to watch pitchers practicing their fielding, but I go back a few years ago, Brian, when the Tigers lost to the St. Louis Cardinals in the World Series. Remember all the errors by Detroit pitchers? I mean, that really took them out of the series. So there's no questioning the fact that it's an extremely important part of the game.
Fundamental baseball. A lot of teams get away from it, but like you said, it hurts you when it counts most.
Adams a homer and 5 driven in. Takes a look at a ball outside. It's 3-0 now, the count. Lopez had a couple of good years in Baltimore. He was 14-9 in 2004. The 21st pitch of the inning is in there for a strike. He also won 15 games with the Orioles in 2005, but since then 9-18, and then as a part-time starter with the Rockies 5-4, 3-1 with the Phils. Last year with Arizona 7-16, an ERA of 5.
Good curveball by Rodrigo. 3-1 count.
Here's the payoff. Strike 3 call. I'm not sure what Adams was looking for, but that fastball right on the inner half, about knee high for strike 3. Lopez gets out of a jam. Still scoreless. Bottom of the second coming up. Fans, get on the phone. Hurry. Top seat locations to see Chipper, Uggla, McCann, Prado, Huddy, Hayward, and the rest of your Braves at Turner Field are selling fast. Ticket plans starting as low as $50, including as little as 5 games or as many as 83 home games. Become a Braves season ticket holder today and get the benefits like player meet and greets, stadium discounts, on-field events, and more. Visit Braves.com or call 404-577-9100. Set to go in the bottom of the second of a scoreless game. Freddie Freeman starts things off and takes a healthy cut, which winds up hitting the catcher, Nicaeus. Freddie Freeman hitting .304 this spring, a homer and 6 runs batted in. Well, let's see. 2 years ago, you see Freddie Freeman Thursday night blasting the home run to straightaway center field. I think a lot of people believe that you might need to be patient with the power for Freddie Freeman. It's there, but first things first, want to see Freddie Freeman become a guy that can climb his way up the lineup. Right now, O'Brien, it's looking like Freddie Freeman going to hit in the bottom of the order, maybe even 8th.
Probably 8th.
Swings and hits one routine to center for out number 1.
He'll probably start out at 8th, but I guarantee by the end of the season that he won't end up 8th.
Now, don't forget CSS, the only place to experience it all when it comes to college baseball in the South. Don't miss the action this week as Georgia Tech takes on Georgia Tuesday at 7 o'clock Eastern. Visit CSS-sports.com to see the most up-to-date schedules. Slow roller up the first base side, and a nice job by Pat Mish, as we were just talking about PFP, as he goes over to first for out number 2.
Just to get back to Freddie Freeman a second, he's going to start out at 8th, probably take the pressure off him a little bit. But we saw him last year all year in Gwinnett. The thing that I love about Freddie is he's able to make adjustments. We saw early in the season, you said lack of power. Well, pitchers were throwing him away. He had to really prove himself, and he started driving that ball the other way with some authority. And now pitchers had to pitch to him, and we saw his power numbers all of a sudden creep up to 18 home runs last year. I think he's going to go through that same thing here in Atlanta. He's going to have to make adjustments, and the quicker he makes that adjustment, the better off he's going to be. But I really don't see him as an 8th place hitter long for the Atlanta Braves.
Yeah, I think that's one of those you earn your stripes, and eventually you get to move up. As Hicks looks at a ball high.
And this is a young man, Brandon Hicks, has potential power. As I say it, once he learns how to drive the ball the other way and let the ball get deep in the zone and become a better hitter, we'll start seeing his power. Last year he was brought up a lot during the season because of all the injuries. And this is a kid I think that needs to get at bats. We know he can play shortstop in the big leagues today, but he has to learn to swing that bat, get that average going, get that consistency, and I think he can be an outstanding big league player.
He's a big guy for a shortstop. Chopper to short, and the Braves go down quietly in the second. We move to the third. Still no score. Scoreless ball game as we get you ready for the top of the third. Fans, WWE's Mark Henry, Sean Morrison, and Diva Eve will be at the Braves-Twins game on Tuesday, March the 29th, meeting fans and signing autographs. Get your game tickets today and meet the WWE wrestlers by visiting Braves.com/WWE. He's Brian Jordan. I'm Mike Morgan. Glad to be with you here from Lake Buena Vista, Florida. A scoreless game. Top of the third about to get started. So far, some very solid defense shown by Atlanta.
Chipper Jones showing his range to his left. Throwing a bullet over to Freeman. How about Brooks Conrad? Or Freeman right here, I'm sorry. Now Brooks Conrad makes a great play to his right. Gets up quick and throws a bullet over to Freddie Freeman.
Ching Lung Hu, the starting shortstop for the Mets today, takes a look at ball one. Now I'm glad we got a chance to see a great play by Conrad, because I think it's worth noting something about his ability. First, the 1-0. And that is when people, if you just look at it in a vacuum and take a look at the errors down the stretch, the 3-1 game against the Giants in the playoffs, you might assume that he's just not a very good athlete, not very agile, and nothing could be further from the truth. You see on plays like that, he made many at third last year. The guy could make the plays. It was more of a mental thing, Brian.
Well, he will make the plays. I mean, he's one of those guys where he's so athletic, so talented, that he wants to do everything real quick. And as an infielder, you have to relax and let the ball come to you. And a lot of times, well, last year in the playoffs, he was just so jumpy. He wanted to make the play and instead of letting the play come to him. And he got him in trouble. But he's been working hard in spring training down here, and he's going to be a good one.
So much versatility Conrad offers. 3-1 pitch sent out a play foul. Remember last year with all the injuries, you saw Brooks Conrad playing everywhere. He's even been working in spring training, playing some first base. But he's the ultimate utility guy for this team. He's a switch hitter. And last year he was a clutch hitter for most of the year.
A lot of big hits out of Brooks Conrad last year. None more famous than that grand slam versus Cincinnati, when he thought the left fielder jumped up and caught the ball. He was walking back to the dugout, and man, that was a great scene at home plate.
Part of an incredible comeback by the Braves last year. If you go back to last season, you think back to what the team was able to do, best record at home, and the most last at-bat victories of any team in Major League Baseball. So this team was a lot of fun to watch in 2010, and obviously everybody hoping that'll be the case this season as well. Well, who works a walk out of Rodrigo Lopez, a stingy at bat, the leadoff man aboard, with the pitcher coming to the plate. Well, there's those clutch home runs as a pinch hitter. Conrad with 3 of them. That was second in all of the National League. Stairs and Heisey of Cincinnati with 4. And it wasn't just the home runs for Conrad. He had a lot of other clutch hits, walk-off singles. And that's really was his calling card. I mean, that's what we would have been remembering Brooks Conrad for last season had it not ended quite in the manner that it did.
And like after the game, I told Brooks, hey, it's a learning experience for you. Put it behind you and know that feeling, because that's a feeling that you never, ever want to have again. And he just looked at me and just smiled and said, you know, you're exactly right. I'm just going to work hard, and I will never have that happen again. And that's a great attitude. It's a great approach to take. Because this game is not an easy game. The ball will find you if you're not prepared to make plays.
It's not an easy game, and it's an unforgiving game.
It is.
If you're going through tough times, nobody really is going to offer you much sympathy, particularly the opponent. 1-2 now the count. Mish trying to lay one down, but that's going to be a lot more difficult now behind the count. 1 ball, 2 strikes.
Well, Mike, that's a difference of football and baseball. Football, you can hide behind that helmet when you make a mistake. But baseball, the world is watching this, and they're looking right at your face. You cannot hide it.
Mish still drops it down. It's actually a pretty good bunt. Sacrifice is true, and the runner moves over with 1 away. the top of the order in Angel Pagan. The Mets last year were 5th in all of baseball in stolen bases, and this was a huge part of it. Angel Pagan with 37 steals, and that was not even in a full season. They believe he can steal 50. Pagan hit .290 last season. Showed a little bit of pop with 11 home runs.
As the season went on, I mean, he played one of the leadership roles on the Mets ball club, along with David Wright. He was playing that well in center field.
Switch hitter hitting lefty. As Lopez can't find the corner. It's 2 balls, no strikes. There's the stat I alluded to just a moment ago. Stolen bases. The Mets 130. 2-1. Pagan with Emis waiting on deck. We'll see these two teams again next week on the 26th. We'll be in Port St. Lucie, as the Braves and Mets will have one of those final tune-ups. Remember, opening day this year almost a week earlier than it was last season, beginning on March the 31st. The Braves will be in Washington taking on the Nationals, then a trip to Milwaukee. That's over for a strike. 2-2. Lopez missing down low. So many great games between these two teams in recent memory, and of course still burned in every New York Mets fan, his memory or her memory, is Chipper Jones. I mean, he still gets tormented whenever he's in New York, but that's a sign of respect because Chipper has been a Met killer his entire career. As Pagan draws a walk, 2 walks in the inning.
That's exactly why Chipper named his son Shea. I don't think the fans at Shea Stadium like that too much.
Now, his middle name's not City Field, is it?
Oh, no.
Shea will suffice. Let's see what Lopez can do here in a jam. 2 on, 1 out. And Emis, the batter, grounded out his first time up. Off-speed delivery for a strike.
It's a good curveball to start him off. He's going to have to keep the ball down and hope for that ground ball double play.
Infield straight up, outfield shaded a little bit toward right. Runner from second breaks to third and out of there. That's Ching Lung Hu. It was not a double steal. He was the only one going. He thought he beat it out. The third base umpire, Mark Wallow, says no.
Well, he had a great jump off of second base, and David Ross just throws a bullet right on point. He might have got that hand in there, but it was such a great reaction by David Ross and quick tag by Chipper Jones. Braves gets the benefit of the doubt there.
Rodrigo Lopez has already thrown 50 pitches.
Well, here's the play again. It looks like he got that hand in there.
One of those, the throw beats you there. Even if the tag is late, you still get called out. Now Pagan on the move.
It just tells me with who getting thrown out at third that it wasn't a double steal. He did that on his own. Because Pagan would have definitely been on second base if he'd have known he was running.
Well, the Mets expect to be an aggressive team again this season.
Well, they have to be. When you look at that lineup, and it's not a powerful lineup outside of David Wright, Ike Davis. So you have to manufacture a lot of runs, and with the speed that they have, that's exactly the way Terry Collins wants to approach this season.
I think there's one thing I'm really curious to see with Freddie Gonzalez as the new manager for the Braves. What Atlanta be more aggressive on the base paths? It remains to be seen. 2-2. Pitch blown away. Ross, another good throw, but out of the glove of Conrad. Might have been some contact there on the slide.
Well, he threw, David Ross threw a bullet, perfect throw, right where his foot was sliding into the base. You can see the ball hit him actually on the foot. I mean, that's just a perfect throw. Just a little out in front.
.37 swipes for Pagan last year.
And that actually led the Mets last year.
Strike three call. Breaking ball by Lopez, and the side is retired. So Lopez able to work around a pair of walks and a stolen base. Bottom of the third coming up, no score. We're in the third here from Lake Buena Vista, Florida. Get your tickets today for opening weekend, and don't miss the Abbott Brothers free post-game concert presented by Coca-Cola and Delta Airlines following the Braves-Phillies game on Sunday, April the 10th. For tickets, visit braves.com/Abbott Brothers. Martin Prado going to grab a bat. He'll be batting second in this inning. Earlier, we had a chance to catch up with Freddie Gonzalez, the new Braves manager, talking about, with the acquisition of Dan Uggla, how important it was to let Martin know just how important he still is to this club.
Well, his biggest thing was, you know, that he was going to get traded, and he was worried about that, and so we called him. Frank and I called him within the hour of Danny getting traded to us, and we want to make sure you're a big part of this team. We want you to play left. On the days that Chipper can't play, you play third, you know. But is he going to be a left fielder the rest of his career? No, probably not. But he is a winner, and you need those type of players in your organization.
Well said by Freddie Gonzalez. And again, I don't think there was a more consistent player in the lineup last year, Brian, than Martin Prado as Lopez rolls out to short.
Well, you're right. I mean, talk about Prado being the MVP last year, and I think with Frank Wren and Freddie Gonzalez, that means a lot to Prado. You know, it's about respect, and they gave Prado that respect, making sure that he knew that he was still the MVP of his team, but we needed you to just be that ultimate team player. And he's so talented, athletic enough to do whatever the Braves needed him to do, and he didn't have any problems moving to left field. He played a little outfield and winter ball, but he knows he'll still probably end up being an infielder when all is said and done.
Our Cooks pest control inside the number, taking a look at how many hits Martin Prado had, fourth in the league last season. And keep in mind, that was with an injury late in the year that sidelined him the rest of the way. Bounces one up here, and that's a very typical Martin Prado base hit. He finds a lot of holes, finds gaps, and every now and then when you sleep on his power, he'll show some power as well.
He puts the bat on the ball. That was a high fastball. He managed to get on top of it and just hits a bouncer where they're not, right up the middle. And that's why he's so good. I mean, I don't care what you throw to him. He puts the ball in play, and that's so important. Cutting down on those strikeouts.
McLeod jumps on the first pitch. A looping liner to center. Pagan handles it for out number 2. And going back to Prado for a moment, he only played 140 games. He missed 22 games due to injury, and he was still top 5 in the National League in hits. It didn't matter where you put him. Leadoff, second, third. Martin Prado produced no matter where he was in the lineup.
It's an ultimate team player, and every manager wished they had a guy like Prado in their lineup.
Chipper Jones with a double his first time up. I think Chipper's already got his timing down pretty well.
He's locked in. He's locked and loaded. Watching him in batting practice, they hit one over the clock in center field. You can tell he's locked and loaded. He's having fun. He's on a mission. He's out to prove something.
Takes inside. Chipper Jones, a lifetime 300 hitter from both the left side and the right side of the plate.
That's amazing.
You don't see a whole lot of guys that are that good from each side. Even the best switch hitters of all time, usually there's one side that they're, oh gosh, at least 40, 50 points higher than.
Right.
The difference between the two sides is about 3 to 5 points for Chipper Jones. Jones, the Mets killer, 44 home runs lifetime against the Mets. So whenever they see number 10 in the batter's box, the Mets get a little bit uneasy. '99 MVP Chipper Jones. This one hit toward the gap in right center field and flat down nicely by NYN, robbing Jones of another double and an RBI. We've completed 3, still scoreless. Games from the CSS. Tune in tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern Time to see the Braves take on the Houston Astros. Visit CSS-sports.com to see additional Braves spring training games this March right here on CSS. Mike Morgan, Brian Jordan, glad to be with you. A beautiful day here in Central Florida. Kind of a surprising pitcher's duel thus far. A scoreless game as we enter the top of the 4th. It'll be Harris, Davis, and NYN, the batters in the Mets lineup. 3, 4, 5. Rodrigo Lopez towing the rubber today for Atlanta. Later on today, we're expected to see Linebrink and Craig Kimbrell is going to go for a second consecutive day, which is good preparation for a guy that is fighting for that closer's job. Harris 0 for 1 with a ground out. Fastball tattoo, deep right field. Hayward angling back, and he has no chance.
Wow. I talked about Willie Harris hitting 10 home runs last year. Still having that pop in his back. First pitch, he jumped all over it.
No cheapies in this ballpark in the alleys. 385. But this was a no-doubter, Brian.
No doubt. Fastball out over the middle of the plate. probably inner half, and Willie got full extension.
10 home runs last season with the Nationals. Still has plenty of pop in the bat. Speaking of pop, here's Ike Davis. He doubled to center his first time up. Davis, Hayward, Posey, just some of the many talented rookies in last year's National League class. I can't recall one as good as that in a long, long time, as deep as that.
Don't forget about Sanchez down in Florida.
Oh, yeah.
Had a real good season.
Gabby Sanchez, a player that they're excited about down there in Miami. Mike Leake, talented pitcher for the Reds, a rookie last season. Mike Morgan, Brian Jordan with you here, Lake Buena Vista, Florida. Champion Stadium in the fourth. The Mets just grabbing the lead on a Willie Harris home run. We'll be back with you tomorrow when the Braves take on the Houston Astros.
Mike Davis looks like he's locked in. Even the ones that he's fouling back, he is right on each pitch.
Wow. Strike 3 called. Good job of pitching there by Lopez. 90-mile-an-hour fastball for the K.
Good sink to that pitch. Starts out on the inner half and this runs back across the middle.
Our Cook's Pest Control pitch count on Rodrigo Lopez, 63. A little bit more than you'd like to see here in the fourth, but he's managed to work out of trouble for the most part. The big mistake, of course, the home run to Harris. Now it starts off Neuenhuis with a strike.
Neuenhuis running down that ball in the gap, hit by Chipper, showing his speed out there. He covered a lot of ground to make that catch.
Lopez out of Mexico, 6'1", 185 pounds, made his debut back in 2000. Fly ball to left. Racing toward the line is Prado and makes the catch.
Oh, wow.
Had to reverse pivot on the warning track as the ball just kept carrying and carrying, and a nice job by Prado to haul it in.
Well, this is a part of the learning curve. You got to be able to play that wind, and we see the flag blowing out, and that ball just took off. But here's the athletic ability that I'm talking about, how he could change and reverse that quick and still concentrate on the baseball. I mean, that's tough to do. Good play by Prado.
1 ball, no strikes to Nikias. Well, Brian, you certainly know about making the transition from the infield to the outfield. What's going to be the biggest challenge for Prado this year?
Well, just repetition. You know, kind of putting yourself in game situation. Even though in batting practices, he's just going to have to put in the work every day here in spring training. And it's still not the same once that game starts and you're playing in different fields, different backgrounds. You know, it's tough to do, but he's just going to have to see as many balls as possible off the bat. And then the game will slow down for him.
1-2 the count. Well, I think you hit on a key thing just a moment ago. He's very athletic to begin with.
Right.
And to make that kind of adjustment, you need to be.
You have to be. And just as he made that play where he was able to reverse fields, turn his whole body and still concentrate, that shows a big sign of athleticism. He almost looked like a defensive back there. You know, I'm always going to relate to football, but
well, when you hit that wall, it's kind of like clobbering a receiver over the middle.
You're exactly right.
Unfortunately, the wall rarely gives.
And I found that out many times.
Count fills up now. The Mets catcher. I think Prano's going to be fine in the left. I think the biggest question for Martin Prano is just where's he going to hit. You see him in the leadoff spot today. McLouth in the 2-hole. That could easily be flip-flopped. Lazy fly to right. No worries for Hayward. And the side is retired. A little bit of damage done. A Harris home run. And a nifty defensive play by Prano in the left. Middle of the fourth, 1-0 our score. Baseball fans, you don't want to miss a special preview. Spring training around the South. Tune in on Sunday at noon at 7 p.m. Eastern Time to get the latest from Florida on spring training and the start of baseball season for all your favorite teams. Among the panel, John Smoltz and Tom Glavine will be lending their thoughts to the subject. Certainly can learn plenty from those two guys.
There's two Hall of Famers talking baseball.
Yeah, not too shabby, right?
Not too shabby. Let me ask you, first ballot, both?
First ballot always becomes that tricky question. You know, in my mind, if you're a Hall of Famer, you're a Hall of Famer, and both those guys are Hall of Famers. Now, what the voters do now, where they start to look at it under a microscope and say, yeah, he's a Hall of Famer, but I don't know if I want to put him in on the first ballot. I still, to this day, don't completely understand that. But I don't know of a 300-win guy that didn't make the Hall of Fame. Tom Glavine, we know he's going to make it. I don't know why you would wait to put him in. John Smoltz might be, for the statistical geeks, so to speak, a little bit more of a quandary because he has time as both a starter and a closer. But in my mind, you're talking about a guy that for most of his career, whether he was a starter or a closer, was one of the top pitchers in baseball. And by definition, that makes him a Hall of Famer.
He was dominant. I mean, to go from a dominant starter, move the closer and dominate, and then back to starter, I mean, it just says a lot about John Smoltz, and I think both of them are first ballot. I would be really surprised if they're not.
2-2 to Jason Hayward. Walked his first time up. Mish wheels and deals and hits Hayward on the arm. Jason Hayward was no stranger to being hit or drawing walks, and that's part of the reason why he was among the leaders in on-base percentage in the National League. And you look at the guys ahead of him, well, one's an MVP, the other one's a perennial MVP, and the other one is one of the top hitters in baseball and fielder. And there's Hayward fourth. To do that as a rookie is nothing short of amazing.
And that's why I was so surprised he didn't win the Rookie of the Year. And not to knock Buster Posey, he definitely changed San Francisco Giants lineup, but he only did it for half a season.
Ross, who's been bunt happy in the spring, he's tried that a couple of times, and every now and then Ross will surprise you.
David Ross, he runs well for a catcher, and he's a smart player. If he sees that third baseman back, he knows that average goes up. That's just a smart play. Sees Russ Adams playing back. He just needs to keep it fair, and normally he does.
Adams now taking a couple of steps in. He's almost even with the bag. You must respect the speed of David Ross. He would love nothing more than to hear us say that.
But now Ross is looking down there and saying, well, he's playing in. Let me hit a bullet by him now.
Adams backpedals as the pitch is fouled with a screen. David Ross, exceptional defensive catcher, and he's put up some numbers offensively as well. He had a career high 21 home runs with the Reds back in 2006.
David Ross is my teammate back in L.A., the Dodgers. And he was a great guy then, and unfortunately, he was the backup catcher for L.A. You remember LaDuca? Actually backed him up. Paul LaDuca.
Fights another one off. 1 ball, 2 strikes the count. Pat Mish, hardly a quick worker, particularly with runners on base. Everybody talks about efforts being made to speed up Major League Baseball, and technically there is a pitch clock, but it really only applies when there's no one on base. You've got 12 seconds, and the key part of that is that people lose sight of when the batter's ready. So very often, Brian, you guys, you take all that time adjusting your gloves, and you go out after every pitch. Sometimes the batters can slow it up.
Well, and that's the case most of the time. And a lot of times now, umpires are telling those hitters, get back in the box. And in their efforts to speed up the game. And that's something that Major League Baseball is constantly looking at and trying to find ways to, like you said, to speed up this game. But hitters are going to have to stay close to the box. They can't walk out. If you remember Garcia Parra, he used to go out and do that routine, and you're sitting there putting the clock on him. And
Ross serves that one to right. Doing Heiss with an easy play. Right, number 1.
But you look around the league now, you don't see Garcia Parra stepping out, fixing their gloves, unsnapping and putting them back, because umpires will not allow that. You can't walk up too far away from the batter's box anymore, and I think it's good for baseball.
I agree. I mean, some guys, you know, you can file your taxes between pitches. It's just nobody wants to see that. It's just not good for the game, and baseball is such a great game. You don't want to lose young fans by the game slowing down. Freddie Freeman flied out to center his first time up. The Mets on top of the Braves 1-0. We're in the whole half of the 4th. Each team with 2 hits.
Just missing outside. Well, I think Major League Baseball players are looking out for the smaller kids. You know, their attention span is not going to be there for more than 3 hours. If you get them to 2, it's great. But in hopes that you speed up the game, parents can continue to bring their smaller kids to the game. And I kind of just threw that in there just to help out Major League Baseball.
Commissioner Brian Jordan has spoken. Freeman a year ago in Gwinnett, .319 batting average, 18 home runs. absolutely buckled on that pitch by Pat Mish.
It was just a good curveball by Mish. Started way in on Freddie Freeman. That's a huge break. I mean, it's good that Freddie Freeman gets to see this in spring training because he's going to get a lot of lefties. And, you know, we saw him all last year. He hits lefties, righties. It makes no difference. But you get to the big leagues, you can get a steady diet of those curveballs if you can't hit them. So it's good to see Freddie watching these pitches and getting used to some of the guys he may face during the season.
Brooks Conrad getting ready. Schuyler to deep right center field. Backing up Pecan. It is a home run. Looked like it hit the bottom of the scoreboard. Brooks Conrad putting a charge into the baseball, his first of the year, and the Braves have the lead, 2-1.
We continue to talk about Brooks Conrad's defense, but this is what he gives you, the power. I mean, that's straightaway center field. We saw a lot of it last year. He's a very aggressive hitter. He's a valuable player for your team.
8 home runs a year ago for Conrad. He's not a big guy, but his swing lends itself to some long fly balls. That one's out of the reach of Harris on the bat of Brandon Hicks. That's a good sign for Conrad. He struggled a bit this spring. Came into the game at 206. He got his first home run. And technically he's still fighting. There's no guarantee that Brooks Conrad's going to be on that 25-man roster. We got a good battle going between him and some other utility guys there at the end of the bench.
Well, you know what you're going to get from Brooks. And, it's always an advantage for him. Last year we saw him come in as a pinch hitter most of the time, spot play during the games, and get the job done. Unfortunately, again, I don't want to continue to bring up the playoffs, and he made a couple crucial errors, but you know what you're going to get. And he can play that role. I think Hinsky helped him a lot last year in that pinch hit role, and he performed well. Everybody, every ball club needs that pinch hitter to come off the bench and hit that big home run, and he can do it. He can get it done.
And that's certainly the edge that Conrad has over the other guys he's battling, is that experience. As Hicks flailing away for strike 3, so a good recovery by Mish. But Jason Hayward gets hit. Brooks Conrad gets the big hit, and the Braves have the lead for the first time today. The Atlanta Braves leading the New York Mets 2-1, set to go in the top of the 5th inning. The bottom third of the lineup due up for the Mets. Rodrigo Lopez has been effective thus far allowing just one run as we take a look at Mike Minor, who's going to be in the battle for that number 5 spot with Brandon Beachy. We'll talk more about those two guys moving forward, but want to first welcome a face very familiar to Braves fans throughout the land, someone who's certainly been a large part of the success of this franchise over the many years, John Schuerholz. John, how you doing?
Doing very well, thanks, Mike.
Enjoying a beautiful day, beautiful time here in Central Florida?
Beautiful spring, actually. Every day has been just about like this. Our team has looked sharp throughout the spring, and we're all real excited about the season.
What do you look for in these games? I mean, we talk so much about the races, the battles going on for different positions, and we're just talking about the final starter in the rotation. What specifically are you looking at?
Well, there are those circumstances where there's a spot open on the roster, and everybody, Frank Wren and his staff, are looking at the guys who are battling for that, Rodrigo being one. Of course, you mentioned Minor and Beachy battling for that 5th spot. An extra guy on the club or a role player on the club. Guys are battling for that. Brooks Conrad in that mix, of course, and did himself well that last at bat. So some final pieces. Who do you want as your backup infielder? Who do you want as bats on the bench? Who do you want in the bullpen? And those kinds of things mostly, because pretty much now our club is what we know it's going to be.
Are you like a lot of the players? Are you chomping at the bit, ready to go to the regular season?
Well, yeah, we've been down here a long time, and Brian knows. I mean, for hitters, I think, for position players, in 10 days, 2 weeks, these guys are ready. They could go play the season. Pitchers take a while longer to get themselves healthy and be strong enough to pitch 6 innings in a regular season game. So it's mostly for the pitchers' conditioning, but it also helps for the hitters, too, to get their timing down and their swings in.
Adams punched out looking. 4 strikeouts for Rodrigo Lopez.
Well, John, I got one question for you. I know last time we talked about the timing of the game. What has changed? What are we continuing to work on as Major League Baseball?
Well, the time of the game, the pace of the game is what everyone seems to be bothered by. But I've often said, I've never heard a fan complain about how long a baseball game is. Mm-hmm. And so until I do, then I'll start worrying about that. But what we're trying to do is make the game crisp. The pace of the game played well, but played quickly and crisply instead of having it drag out. We've got television and radio commercials that find their way into our games now. Players take more time, and the game seems to unfold at a little slower pace. So we're trying to speed that up a bit.
So often, we were just talking, as a matter of fact, your timing was perfect on that subject, how very often people complain about the pitchers taking so long, but very often it's the hitters taking so long out of the box in between pitches.
That could be true, and I think it's mostly the people who see a lot of baseball, writers and broadcasters and such, and executives, and not so many fans complain about any aspect of our game. So that's a good thing. They like the game. We want to be sure that they continue to like it, and it didn't get too slow and too bogged down by the unnatural flow of the game.
Lou skies this one to deep center. That'll be over the head and out of the reach of McLouth and over the fence for a ground rule double. So the Mets have a runner in scoring position with 1 down here in the 5th. John, how unusual has it been this year to come to spring training? And, of course, Bobby Cox is here. We've seen Bobby and talked to Bobby. Looks like he's having fun, but obviously in a different role.
Bobby's in a different role, but boy, he's taken to it like a duck to water. He's very comfortable. He's here every day dressed in his civilian clothes like I am. He's on that bench. Doesn't have his spikes on, but he's on that bench every morning. And he's out here with Freddie and the coaches and talking to the players and talking to the coaches and observing the game and over to the minor league fields on occasion and enjoying himself. And it's a different role. And, of course, it's a remarkable and say profound transition for Bobby to make. And he's made it very well. No surprise to any of us. And I think he's going to show what he can contribute to our organization and going through our system this year and being around Atlanta for home games. So, we're looking for a lot of real positive input continued from Bobby Cox.
John, I want to ask you a question about Mr. Schaefer. I mean, how do we feel about Mr. Schaefer coming into this season?
Well, we feel good about his health, Brian. He's been banged up. He's had some problems in the past that he's dealt with, but last year was all physical. He busted that hand, and he never really got over. Had to have several surgeries. This year he came in great condition. He's physically healthy and sound. He just hasn't had a lot of at-bats on a continuing basis.
Right.
And you got to have a couple of years in a row where you put some at-bats up and get your timing and find your swing and get comfortable with it. And Jordan has not had that opportunity. So he's battling to get that back, but We like his tool set. He can run, he can throw, he's got power when he needs it. He's got all the tools you like to see in an outfielder, and we think he's going to contribute to us somewhere along the line, either this year or sometime in the near future.
How much does the acquisition of Dan Uggla excite you?
Well, really, I mean, this guy's a remarkably productive offensive player, plays second base, and we needed that guy, especially right-handed hitting in our lineup. And Dan is a guy that we feel fills that role perfectly, and we're happy about having him added to our offense.
The throw from Freeman sailing over Lopez, racing to the bag to cover, and that'll play to run. So we're now tied at 2 as Mish makes it over to second. 2-2 ball game here in the 5th inning. Again, John Schuerholz joining us here in the broadcast booth. Another look.
Well, this is a play where Freddie's going to have to say, I need to let the second baseman take this ball, and I need to stay at first base. You got to know your hitter, and that's a pitcher hitting. You know he's not going to run too hard. And a slow roller like that, you got to give that to Brooks Conrad. But it's good to learn it down here in spring.
Well, you mentioned you're excited, John, about Dan Uggla. I think everybody is from a Braves perspective. And I know people have different takes on the importance of spring training numbers and everything else, but if you're Nate McLouth, and if you're a fan of Nate McLouth, you have to be very encouraged by what he's been able to do.
I think a guy like Nate, who went through the kind of year he went through last year, which was a real challenge for him, to come back and to work as hard as he did this winter and to come back and have the kind of spring he's having now, which is a very positive spring, it really is good for him. It is not necessarily doesn't mean much for most guys, but a guy who had an off year and needs to reassert himself and regain his confidence and feel good about his game, it's good to have a spring like Nate's having. And he, not only does he feel good about himself, but the team does and the executives do, and everybody feels like this guy could be a real productive and important part of our team.
Well, John, you've been here since the beginning of spring, and let's talk about Chipper. I mean, coming off of knee surgery, how has he progressed as from first day down here to now?
Well, his knee has gotten better since the first day. He's worked very hard all winter long, and you can tell day by day, almost inning by inning, at bat by at bat, this guy has really gotten comfortable with the condition of his knee. In fact, 2 or 3 or 4 games ago, he beat out a double play ball to first base run as well as I've seen him run in 4 years at first base. He's bouncing around at third base. He's running the bases well. He's got his legs under him with his swing. He looks, knock on wood, he looks really sensational to me, and he's got that look in his eye too. He wants to be a part of what we have here, and he wants to be a big leadership part of what we have here. And I think I see that in him this spring. I know I see that in him this spring. Right. I feel real good about that.
Good.
Pagan goes down looking for out number 2. Emis, the last hope for the Mets here in the 5th, a 2-2 game. John Schuerholz joining us. John, just a final question for me about looking forward to this season and kind of backtracking a bit to last year. What a year it was for Turner Field. When you look at the crowds, all the last at-bat victories, attendance was up. It seems like the excitement in Braves baseball is so good right now, very much like the many great years you had during your time as a general manager.
Well, it was a great year, and to add to the things you mentioned, the fond farewell and salute and tribute to Bobby all season long from other teams and our fans and everybody in the Atlanta area and the Southeast paying tribute to our great Hall of Fame manager. Not yet, but will be in his last year. So that all added together. We got back in the playoffs as a wild card team, our first wild card appearance ever. So it was a lot of excitement, and it's carried over this winter into our fans. There's been a lot of interest in our season ticket plans, and people are buying tickets at a greater clip, and they're engaged in this team. They like the mix of this team. I think as much as they miss Bobby, they like Freddie's enthusiasm and what he's bringing and how the players are responding. So it's a lot of excitement that's built through the winter and continues into the spring, and that we think is going to carry on into the season.
Yeah, I think that's palpable, to say the least. People awfully excited about what they saw last year, and gosh, you think about it, that series against the Giants, I think it's easy to forget. Every loss was by 1 run. And, of course, it was an injured team at the time.
Yeah, we didn't have Chipper and we didn't have Prado, probably our 2 most productive offensive players, and we still managed to play that club that won the World Championship very close, as you said, 3 1-run losses that could have turned either way, and made a couple of errors in a couple of games still to help them out. But still, we played well. We showed we've got heart, we've got grit. It was a team that wasn't going to quit. It's carried over to this year. It's a stronger team with Uggla added to it. We like how it looks going into this season, and I think our fans have responded in the same way by, again, how I said they're buying tickets and getting ready to support this club this year.
A little scare early. Jason Haywood missed 5 games in a row. A sore back. What's the diagnosis from the doctors?
Well, I don't think it's anything serious. I mean, I'm not a doctor, but from what I've heard and what has been told to me, it's just a sort of an aching back, just a little stiffness, a little soreness, nothing hurt, nothing injured, nothing out of place, nothing ruptured or whatever. And being precautionary and being cautious with a young guy like that, we just are minding our P's and Q's and making sure that he's completely healthy, because he's a real big part of our club, and he's a real asset for us, and we want to be sure he's healthy when the season starts, and that's the way Freddie and Frank Ram were looking at it.
2-2 to Amos. Just a little bit outside. Count fills up.
John, one quick question. We had this debate going. Tom Glavine, John Smoltz, first ballot Hall of Famers?
For me, they are. I mean, Smoltz may be a little bit different because he's the Dennis Eckersley kind of a mix. You know, the guy who was a starter and has part of his Hall of Fame credentials there, and a dominant closer. And it took Eckersley some while to get nominated and elected into the Hall of Fame. Although I think he sort of led the way for Smoltz. I think if people sit down and measure the full body of Smoltz's work, he'll get in. And, of course, Tommy, with his great career and all the wins he has, I can't imagine he won't be a first ballot. I mean, there are going to be a lot of Braves on a Hall of Fame ballot for the next couple of years. Our manager and a number of our pitchers are going to be lined up on that ballot. So it'll be a lot of fun years for this organization and recognition for the high-caliber talent we've had here in Atlanta.
I'm guessing you'll be making a lot of those trips to the Hall.
Absolutely, with great joy. I tell you that. That'll be a lot of fun.
And that'll be ball 4 as the inning stays alive. All of a sudden, Lopez struggling a little bit with his control. A 2-2 game. Each team with 3 hits, and that might do it for Rodrigo Lopez. Mike Morgan, Brian Jordan with you here on CSS. Glad to be with you on a gorgeous afternoon here in Lake Buena Vista, Florida. The Mets and the Braves doing battle. And your pleasure to be joined by John Sherholtz. Do you stay the whole time? Are you going to be here until the very end, or are you going to head back soon?
You know, I told someone I was a general manager for 26 years, and I always came to spring training from the very first day to the last. And all of a sudden I became president. I said, what in the world am I going to do on February 15th? Well, like a migrating bird, I got in my car and I came down to spring training. I mean, I can do my job as president very well from here with all of the modern electronic conveniences we have. I can run the business of the club from down here, and the people back home are doing their great job running the organization for us. And so here I am. This is, after all, the product that we are producing for our fans, and I wanted to keep an eye on that. And then when we get home, we'll package it and sell it and promote it and present it to our fans. So this was a place for me to be, and I love every minute of it.
Now, how's your back? Are you playing a lot of golf while you're down here, or what, John?
Well, I have been playing, not a lot, but I have, not like Brian. I mean, like Brian Jordan, not like Jason Hayward, but my back is an older back than his by a wide margin, and it's been a little stiff. I haven't played quite as much as I'd like, but I've of late been able to play some. I enjoy that. You mix it in when you can, but it's all about baseball here and putting our team together. And I don't spend as much time in meetings, or hardly any time in meetings, as Frank Wren and Bruce Mano and the scouts that come in, and all those guys, along with Freddie and Bobby Cox sits in, and Carlos Tosca and the coaching staff. They talk all of the time, every day, about how this team should be formed and who should be on it and who shouldn't. And so I don't have that obligation anymore, or that responsibility anymore. They do, and it's in good hands. So I can sit back and say, okay, what do you got? Tell me what this looks like, and they do.
Take us back, John, to 14 years ago when this stadium made its debut as the new home park. I don't know if everybody realizes, but if you go to other spring training stadiums, as we've had the chance to do, to call games, this is state of the art. I mean, this is the envy of the Grapefruit League in a lot of respects. How did this all come to fruition?
We thought we were going to be moving from West Palm Beach to Jupiter, Florida, where now the Cardinals and the Marlins train, but the deal fell through at the end, and it just so happened that the Disney organization was looking for a major league team to be the centerpiece of this new sports complex idea they had. And I knew that they hadn't found anyone yet, so we put some feelers out. They invited us up. When they found out the Braves were available and interested, they just came after us hard. We came here, had our meetings with them. I walked this facility before anything was here with Reggie Williams, who then led this facility, old middle linebacker for the Cincinnati Bengals. Urlacher here today earlier, another middle linebacker. But we walked in, it was just dirt and stakes put out where the diamond would be. So we're so delighted to be here. This is the state of the art. It was the state of the art. Our minor league fields are as good as this major league field. So we're delighted to be partners with Disney in this grand facility.
New pitcher for the Braves. This is Abreu. Juan Abreu, one of those guys trying to find out what his role is going to be as we're getting closer and closer toward the end of the season here. This is as you know, John, this is when a lot of tough decisions have to be made on that 25-man roster. Always seem to have a couple of utility guys battling out for a spot, and there's always that spot on the roster for a final relief pitcher.
That's true, and guys like this are battling for it. And as I said earlier, Brooks Conrad, and there'll be an extra outfielder that's selected for that role. And kids like Abreu are trying to show the staff that, look, if I don't make it now, I'll be ready when you need me.
Fastball misses low.
Talk about Prado's transition to the outfield, and I know, you know, your first day down here, I know you've been keeping a close eye on Prado out there. You know, give me your opinion on how he's doing.
He's remarkable, Brian. You know, he goes about everything full bore. He's not going to quit on anything. He'll give it his best effort. And his attitude when Frank Wren called him this winter, in fact, the day we made the Uggla deal, and said, hey, Martin, I just want to let you know, we just made a deal. Uggla, he's going to be our second baseman. We're going to invite you to play left field. How do you feel about it? And the kid said, look, I want to be a Brave. I want to be here. I want to be on this team. I'll do whatever you can do. He played the outfield in Venezuela in winter ball. Eddie Perez, our bullpen coach, has seen him play. He recommended that he could do it for us. He's worked very hard at it. He's an athlete, as you know,
right.
And he's made the adjustment very well. He may have a mess up now and then, but he's going to play a lot of games and play them very well for us in left field and, of course, at the plate.
This was Martin Prado earlier in the game, and you see him having to make the adjustment on the ball, twisting the body, and then pull it in.
Showing his defensive back skills right there.
Guy made an inside move when he had to go.
That's right. That's right.
Turn.
Willie Harris with a home run his last time up, and the count moves full. Now 3 balls and 2 strikes. A lengthy 5th inning, a 2-2 game. Braves scoring on a 2-run blast by Brooks Conrad in the bottom of the 4th inning. And now they're loaded. That just gives us more time to pick the brain of John Sherholz.
John, you didn't know it was going to be this long, did you?
Not much picking left, but go ahead.
We're going to have to pay you overtime for this segment. Oh, man.
Well, another question then. You look at the closing spot. You know, Venters had an outstanding year last year, and truly probably coming into this spring training probably deserves to be the closer. But, you know, what is the deal down there?
Well, I think it's between Kimbrel and Venters, or it's the combination thereof, the two of them. I mean, there's been talk down in the dugout and with Frank and the guys. These two may just have a chance to just alter, as we did with Soriano and Gonzalez for a couple of years ago. And that's not a bad thing. We have 2 young players, the caliber and the quality of these 2 guys, that what Venters did last year, and Kimbrel's statistics, which were overwhelming. If we have those 2 guys, even though they're young, their stuff is so dynamic that everyone feels comfortable with them having to fill that role.
Davis uncoils and fouls that one back. It's got to bring joy to you to see a guy like Venters, who was basically stolen away in the 30th round. I mean, that is an absolute gem of a pick right there.
Well, Venters and Kimbrel, neither one of them real high draft choices, and that's just a reflection of very good scouting that was done by our organization. We've always relied on scouting and player development since I got here, and before I got here, actually, before I made the decision to join Atlanta. Bobby Cox and his staff, Stan Kasten, and everybody said this is the way we're going to go. It's the way we did it in Kansas City when I was there. I learned it in Baltimore. Scouting and player development are the heartbeat of an organization. If you do that well, you're going to be successful more times than not, and on a consistent basis. We've demonstrated that, and the clubs that do that well demonstrate on a consistent basis. That's how you put clubs together.
I've got to ask you, how many high fives in the war room were given when you get Jason Hayward in the first round and Freddie Freeman in the second a few years ago?
Well, I mean, Freddie on our chart was higher than he might have been on some other people's charts, but we liked him a lot. Our scouts did a good job recognizing his potential, and the 2 of them have turned into a great story. Of course, cover boys on Sports Illustrated a couple of issues ago, and that's a remarkable story, turned into best friends. One a white guy from Southern California and the other African-American from Atlanta, Georgia, thrust together in the rookie league down here in Orlando. Just put in a room together, and they were roommates, and they became best friends in life. And now, and here it's a great story. They're going to be together on our team and hopefully contribute very well, both of them together.
Talking about another gem, Brandon Beachy. Wow, free agent signing by the Atlanta Braves. The things that he did last year coming up.
Grounded a deep short. Nice job by Hicks to keep it in the infield, but really no play after that. A run will score, and the Mets take the lead 3-2.
Brandon Beachy, undrafted free agent, pitching in the Valley League in Virginia, seen by our scout Gene Kearns. Said, you know what? He called Frank Wren, said, I see a guy here who wasn't drafted, but I'd like to sign him because he can really, and I think we gave him a really small bonus. I know we gave him a really small bonus. And the guy has, he was a third baseman pitcher at Indiana Wesleyan, not a highly scouted school. And all of a sudden, he's found himself with a chance to be a starting pitcher in the big leagues. He was last year, and he's got a chance again to be this year.
Well, the word is he went 5 innings, gave up 1 run and 3 walks today. So he is just 1 hit, no runs, I'm sorry. And he continues to get better and impress.
Yeah, he's a kid that has the benefit of knowing the importance of control, and he can bring it to the mound almost every day. And he's a real competitive guy and a real intelligent guy, too, so he can figure his way around.
Fly ball by Neuenhuis to left. This should put an end to the 5th inning as Prado puts the squeeze on it for out number 3. John Sherholtz, always a pleasure. Thank you so much
guys.
for what you do, and thank you for joining us here.
All right, guys, my pleasure. Thanks.
President of the Atlanta Braves, John Sherholtz, joining us in studio. The Braves looking to rally, trailing it 3-2. Bottom of the 5th, Braves looking to rally from a 3-2 deficit. Purchasing Braves single game tickets before the day of the game will save you $3 on each ticket. Visit Braves.com, the Turner Field ticket windows, or any Publix Ticketmaster outlet today and secure tickets to opening week versus the Phillies, Marlins, and the Mets. We're just talking about attendance with team president John Sherholtz, how good it was last year, and already sales have been terrific for this season. And if you haven't already purchased your tickets, we hope that you will. We hope to see you out there at Turner Field. Got a pinch hitter. This is Matt Lipka, a young man, the Braves' first draft pick, and a young man that they are very high on. This was a guy that was a standout high school football player out of the state of Texas, and there's certainly no shortage of great athletes that play football at the University of Texas. Had a chance to play in the SEC college football as a wide receiver. Right now he's listed as a shortstop. They believe in time he might develop into a center fielder with his speed. Brian, you know, these at-bats for a guy like Matt Lipka, every one of them are so precious as you start to get your first taste of major league pitching.
It's definitely precious and a memory that will last a long time for Mr. Lipka. Outstanding athlete, like you said. He's a wide receiver down in Texas. Had a scholarship offer from LSU as a wide receiver. That's big time.
That's saying something.
Yeah, it is saying something. And Braves saw a lot in him at shortstop. Has some power, but he's fast. He can make things happen. He moves well side to side for a shortstop, but also down the line, if he doesn't make it at shortstop, you can put him in the outfield because he can cover some ground. So gives them options.
1-2 pitch served down the right field line. It's a fair ball. Lipka, who has speed to burn, will easily get in the second standing up. And in the young man's first ever at bat in spring training, he picks up an extra base hit.
Wow. I wish that ball would have gone away from the outfielder because he was flying around first base. I wanted to see him run a little more. Look at him. He is flying. He worked out with Michael Johnson down in Texas.
That's speed.
That is speed.
Prado getting a little bunting into play here. He fouls it back. No balls in the strike to the Braves left fielder. Prado singled his last time up. He's 1 for 2.
Well, this is Martin Prado, very selfless, not afraid to give away in the bat and get the run over to third base. And this is spring training, but this is what you work on, getting ready for the season. A tight ball game, 3-2. That's just knowing how to play the game, Martin Prado.
Martin Prado was such a good season last year. I really thought that he was kind of the pulse of the team, and so often the Braves went as Prado did. Inside out swing, a slow roller to second, and then move the runner over to third.
That's getting the job done. Manufacturing runs. Something that you don't see the Braves do often in the past, but new regime, getting the job done. And the fans who understand the game, they're high-fiving him.
Well, and Martin Prado is not only a fan favorite, but a clubhouse favorite. He's the most unselfish, unassuming guy you'll ever come across. You get the feeling if Martin Prado won 3 MVPs, he would still be a guy that comes early, leaves late, and does whatever he can to help the ball club.
Help the ball club and continue to get better.
McLeod, though, for 2. Ground out and flying out to center his last time up.
Just in the bottom of the 5th inning, the Mets are bringing the infield in. A little surprised by this in the spring training game, but why not work on it?
Easy fly to left.
But getting the job done, Nate McLeod.
Tagging up and scoring, Matt Lipka. Well, that's a few minutes in time that Matt Lipka will not soon forget. A double, moves over on the ground ball by Prado the third, and then scores on a sacrifice fly by Nate McLeod.
And that's manufacturing a run right there. Prado hitting the ball to the right side, getting Lipka over to third, and Nate McLeod just trying to put the ball in play, hit it deep enough. Easy score for Lipka.
Braves won a lot of games last year doing what you just saw, a little station-to-station baseball. It's not a team that hit a ton of home runs and not expected to hit a ton of home runs this season either.
To me, that's why it was Bobby's best season of managing. He knew he didn't have the power in his lineup, so all of a sudden he had to manufacture some runs.
Chipper Jones flies out for out number 3. At the end of 5, we have another tie game. Now it's 3-3, Braves and Mets. Beautiful Central. Football is around the corner on CSS. Don't miss out on a preview of your favorite SEC and ACC teams, including national champion Auburn. Visit css-sports.com for the complete spring football schedule. Mike Morgan, Brian Jordan here at Champion Stadium, and a couple of changes to update you on. Lipka will stay in the game. He'll play shortstop, so Brandon Hicks's day is over. And Chipper Jones will also take a seat on the pine. New third baseman, number 99, Joe Turdulcevic.
Nice.
They were all taking bets in the truck how many attempts it would have me to get that one right. Turdulcevic. It's the first time we've seen Joe, and we're going to learn more about him just like you at home watching as time moves along. But first things first, Nikias at the plate for the Mets, 0 for 2. Abreu stays in on the mound for Atlanta and gets a swinging strike. If you joined us late, the big blow for the Braves, a 2-run homer by Brooks Conrad back in the 4th inning. At that point, Atlanta led 2-1. Since then, the Mets have responded with a 2 spot of their own in the 5th. Big gap in left center field. And a high strike call. Again, Linebrink and Kimbrel also expected to pitch today for Atlanta. Kimbrel has really improved lately after a tough start to the spring, and Johnny Venter still hasn't given up a run. He's a perfect 8 for 8 in appearances without allowing a run.
Brew has a really, really good arm. He's hitting about 96 on the radar gun. And follows it up with a good curveball, 80 miles an hour.
Well, we talked so much about the changes for Atlanta and the outlook of the season. Of course, we're going to be talking a lot about the opponent today, the Mets, one of those Eastern Division rivals. And a lot of people believe the Mets will be improved this year. No one's going to pick them ahead of Atlanta or Philadelphia, but certainly third place is where a lot of people have forecasted either the Mets or the Florida Marlins, depending on which team you like better. But a new attitude with Terry Collins, the manager who managed the Astros and the Angels. He was the Mets minor league coordinator before taking the job this past off season. Hayward racing in and calling off Conrad for the catch.
Great job by Jason Hayward, running in full speed and calling off Brooks, taking control, taking command as an outfielder. It's so important.
I think an underrated asset to the Mets this year, not just the new manager, but the new general manager, Sandy Alderson. This is a guy that has had a remarkable track record going back to what he has done over the years as a GM. If you look back at what he did, first of all, he's a former Marine who served in Vietnam, has degrees from Dartmouth and Harvard Law School, so not short on life and education, but he gave Tony La Russa his second chance at managing. That worked out pretty well. Put Dennis Eckersley on a new career path to Cooperstown by making him a closer, and built a mini dynasty behind the Bash brothers, and turned Billy Beane onto the concept of using on-base percentage as one of the more undervalued statistics in baseball. So he is one of those outside-the-box guys. He doesn't necessarily go by the book. He's a little bit more of an innovator, and I think they believe that, you know, that they needed to shake things up. They certainly have done that in a big way.
He has a tough task. You look at the money that the Mets have spent. I don't want to get into all the legal issues and problems that's going on with ownership right now, but I mean, he has to come in here and kind of gather the troops and really find a way to make this thing work without a lot of money to work with. I think they did an outstanding job this offseason, bringing in Chris Young, Campiano to help with the starting rotation. And I think they have some young talent that's going to be pretty good that will help them. They bring in a veteran like Willie Harris, probably will be the 4th, 5th outfielder. And you look at Ike Davis, you look at David Wright. Jose Reyes is healthy this year. Carlos Beltran, you're crossing your fingers, and if you're a Met fan, and hoping he's healthy this year. I mean, they put together a pretty good team, and I like Terry Collins. I think he's going to do a good job as manager. And I'm not counting these Mets out, especially after last year in the San Francisco Giants. You know, it's all about gelling together and having fun, and you never know what can happen. That's why you love this great game of baseball.
A walk there to Adams with one out. Well, no doubt. And I think that, look, if you're a Mets fan, spending a bunch of money on big names in free agency, that hadn't been working. So why not try something a little bit different? And as you mentioned, the Giants, they didn't spend a ton of money on free agents. They won. They had the #1 pitching staff in baseball, and they got timely hitting in the second half of the season. That was their secret to success. It wasn't outspending everybody and getting a bunch of big names. There are some really big baseball fans that couldn't name you half the starters on last year's San Francisco team.
You're right.
You know, because they weren't big name. And guys like Aubrey Huff all of a sudden come up big. A veteran like Edgar Renteria that has bounced around from team to team. But they don't have a ton of stars.
You make a late season trade. You bring in Cody Ross, who really came in and gave them the boost that they were looking for from an outfielder standpoint. He played a good defensive outfield, and he hit some big home runs for San Francisco down the stretch. And that's kind of that was the missing piece coming down the stretch. An outfielder, and they picked up Cody Ross.
And even Cody Ross was a guy, you know, we saw in Florida who was a good player, not a great player, not a huge number guy. He goes to San Francisco, he starts hitting like Babe Ruth. You know,
right.
He just sometimes you never know. And that team just, as you mentioned, well managed, and everything just kind of gelled so well. And really it did for this Braves team last year. The difference was the Braves had a slew of injuries late. The Giants did not. Ching Lung Hu, the batter, with a 1-2 count. Slow roller to short, could be 2. Over to first, bang bang play, but he beats it out. Lou, I beg your pardon, Hu runs pretty well as he displayed there. And again, the ball was slow getting to the shortstop, Lipka.
Well, Lipka got rid of that ball pretty quick. And a good throw by Bruce Conrad. Give Ching Lung Hu a lot of credit. He got down the line pretty fast.
Now Sean Ratliff, a pinch hitter for the Mets, as the benches begin to empty. A lot of lead in the pencil needed for the scorebook the rest of this game. 3-3 game, each team with 4 hits. The starters, Lopez and Mish. Rodrigo Lopez overall pitched pretty well. So it kind of seemed like he ran out of gas late in the game in that 5th inning.
That's what spring training is all about, working on your endurance. And, probably threw more pitches than he wanted to throw, but you know, he looked pretty good. He has showed good command. He got the ground balls when he needed it, and got the big strikeouts. Speaking of strikeouts, he had 5 strikeouts before he left the game.
Now he could be a very valuable part of the team. You've got really 6 guys right now battling for 5 rotation spots. But all you got to do is look to last season with injuries, what can happen. Medlin goes out for the year. Jurgen's out for a significant amount of time. The only guy that you always know is going to be there is Derek Lowe, because he just never goes on the DL. But a number of other key guys last season did, and that's just part of the game. Fly ball left center. McLouth is there, and he'll put the squeeze on it for out number 3. Middle of the 6th. Mets and Braves tied at 3. Entertaining ball game thus far, 3 apiece. Mets and Braves, almost identical line scores for the game up to this point. Bottom of the 6th about to unfold. A new pitcher for the Mets. He is Blaine Boyer, who has pitched well thus far. This will be game number 6 for Boyer, and a name, Brian, familiar to a lot of Braves fans.
Yes. Atlanta, Georgia guy. Born and raised. And if you're an Atlanta fan, you remember Blaine. He's been bumped around, though, in the last couple years. Arizona last year had some success. And now the Mets. I really liked him. He really threw hard when he's with Atlanta. It was just all about command and control for him.
Nice job of Hayward to hold off of that one at the last second. Jason Hayward hadn't been able to really put the ball in play. He's walked and he's been hit by a pitch. It's amazing how early on in his career that you could tell some pitchers were simply intimidated by Jason Hayward.
Oh, Jason's a big human being. I mean, he has a football body. He would be the perfect wide receiver or tight end.
Yeah, linebacker, take your pick. He can play a few spots. Scorches that one down towards the corner. That's a fair ball. Hayward digging for 2. And they'll pull up the brakes at second. Jason Hayward with a leadoff double.
That's exactly why he would intimidate pitchers. This is a high fastball, and he's able to turn that thing around pretty. Look at his hands just work that ball down the line. That's a fastball about 92 miles an hour and in. This is why he is so talented.
And it wasn't just the home runs last year, the doubles, extra base hits overall, 29 doubles last season. And it should be noted that a number of those were to left field as well. He's not just a dead pull hitter.
Let's see if David Ross here, no outs, man at second base. He'll be looking to get him over, hit the ball on the right side of the field. And we talk about manufacturing runs. It's important to start working on it before you get into the season. We saw it work earlier with Prado, getting the runner over Lipka, and then Nate McLeod hits a fly ball to left field for a sacrifice RBI. Let's see if the Braves can do it again.
Popped up. And in the reach of Nikias.
But it's just good to see the mindset that the Braves have right now. David Ross attempting a bunt there to get the runner over. You know, a lot of times you see players down in spring training and we're just working on our swings. Let's just hit a home run. But already you can see it's getting close to the start of the season. Let's work on some things. Things that we're going to need during the season.
Well, and again, we're less than 2 weeks away. The mindset now maybe a little bit different than it was 2 weeks ago. Ross unable to get a full swing on that one.
That was a good pitch by Blaine Boyer. That's a late breaking curveball.
Freddie Freeman getting plenty of work this spring training. They want to make sure that he's got a good amount of at-bats. He had a September call-up last year, hit the big home run against Roy Halladay, and got some at-bats here and there. But this spring training is so important, much like it was for Jason Hayward last year, to really get acclimated with big league pitching and get your timing down, be ready for the everyday grind that is the regular season in Major League Baseball. That home run off of Halladay came in Philadelphia. That was on September the 21st. I mean, if you're going to hit home run number 1 off a guy, you might as well hit it off of what will probably be a future Hall of Famer in Roy Halladay.
Oh, wow. You can't complain right now if you're Freddie Freeman. Your first career home run off of Roy Halladay. That's a memory when he goes in the Hall of Fame, you get to tell your grandkids, hey, my first home run was off of that guy.
And it was a no-doubter. 1-1 pitch served in the short left. And that'll be out number 2. So Hayward still at second, representing the go-ahead run. 3-3 our score. And the hitting hero of the day, Brooks Conrad, with a 2-run homer in the 4th. Will grab some dirt with those bare hands and dig in. Brooks Conrad, a switch hitter, one of the few in the Braves lineup. Of course, Chipper Jones, the other. I don't know, Brian, does it seem to you like, say, from 10 years ago, 20 years ago, there's less switch hitters than what we used to see? Seems like every team might have 1, maybe 2 tops in the lineup. I thought there used to be more.
Well, it's tough to do. And I know for me, I tried it early in my career to be a switch hitter, and I just got frustrated too quick. I knew my power side was the right side, and I felt like I didn't have enough time to really work on it. And you don't want to take any chance of doing so.
Conrad rolls out for out number 3. We head to inning number 7. Still tied 3-3. Get a Braves 5 or 10 game FlexPlex to secure popular games like opening weekend, Publix Friday night fireworks, Kids Run the Bases, the Civil Rights Game, Alumni Weekend, bobblehead nights, and more. For the best seat locations, call 404-577-9100 or log on to Braves.com. The FlexPack, always a good idea. Work around your schedule, not anybody else's. Again, a good time to go ahead and get your tickets if you haven't already. New right fielder for the Braves, Corey Harelchak, number 87. So Jason Hayward's day is done. We hope to be joined by Jason momentarily. And the new pitcher is Scott Linebrink. And this is a good offseason pickup for the Braves. Linebrink has been a valuable setup guy for a number of years in his career. And a guy, Brian, that could really help solidify this bullpen.
Well, that veteran experience, that long relief guy who's been around the league for 9 years. Major league service time, and everywhere he goes he performs well, and he gets the job done, and it's a huge off-season acquisition by Frank Wren.
First pitch of ball to Angel Pagan, who's been rather quiet, did draw a walk and stole a base earlier, but 0 for 2 at the plate. That'll reach the seats. 1 ball, 1 strike. Linebrink has been around the National and American League. Last year with the Chicago White Sox, 3-2, a 4.40 earned run average. He appeared in 52 games, so he's certainly been a workhorse, much like guys like O'Flaherty and Peter Moylan. We've got a lot of options in that Braves bullpen.
Thing that I like about Linebrink is 52 strikeouts and just 17 walks in those 57 innings pitched last year. So he's going to come right after them.
2-2. Pagan getting a workout in the batter's box. Line break 6'3", 220 out of Austin, Texas. Really had his best years with the San Diego Padres as Pagan buckled on that one. Second time he's gone down on strikes.
94-mile-an-hour fastball right down the middle. I think Angel was looking for an off-speed pitch there.
Tell you, look at the numbers on Linebrink in San Diego, and they are impressive.
Oh, he was outstanding in San Diego.
Swing and a drive. Deep left center field. Backing up and making the catch is Martin Prado. I thought when that ball jumped off the bat the way some of the balls have been carrying today, it had a chance, but Prado tracks it down.
Well, Mike, it's about looking at the flag, and Martin Prado knew when that ball was hit, it was crushed. But he kept his eyes on the ball and was able to turn his body back into his glove. That's a good job, and that's what Martin Prado needs a lot of down here in spring training.
2 gone for Willie Harris, who homered earlier in the game. Linebrink in 04 was 7-3 with a 2.14. He followed that up in 05 with an 8-1 record, a 1.83 earned run average to go along with a save. 7 more wins in 06. I mean, he had a 3-year span there where you could make the argument he was the best setup man in the National League. Things not so good with the White Sox, however. In 3 years with Chicago, his earned run average was over 4.
Well, different league. You got the DH. We're in the National League, you're facing pitchers. I mean, it's honestly, the American League is a hitter's league. And you're facing different batters that you never faced before a lot of times. So
Harris hits it sharply but playable. Flag down in right by the recently inserted Harold Chat. 1-2-3 inning for Scott Linebrink. Stretch time in Central Florida. We're tied at 3. In Lake Buena Vista, Florida, I want to remind you to join us at Coolray Field in Gwinnett County. The Gwinnett Braves, AAA affiliate of the Atlanta Braves, are on CSS this year. The action starts on opening day, April 7th, when Gwinnett takes on Durham. Visit css-sports.com to see the complete 25-game schedule. And myself, Brian Jordan, will be there. Hope to see you in the ballpark. Hope to see you, have you, as a captive audience on CSS throughout. Go back to last year, we got a chance to see Freddie Freeman all season long. Got a chance to see Mike Minor blossom into an eventual major leaguer. Brandon Beachy, I mean, so many of the guys that you saw make contributions for Atlanta last year came through Gwinnett, so you can get a head start on everybody. When you go to the water cooler at work and they're saying, well, what about this new guy that just came up from Gwinnett? You say, I already know about him because I saw Mike and Brian talking about him on the Gwinnett broadcast, so I can tell you everything you need to know. You could be the smartest guy in the room.
And I tell you what, that's an advantage for the Atlanta Braves to be able to have the Gwinnett Braves, the AAA minor league team, right in town. And fans really enjoy that. And now they see the upcoming stars, you know, firsthand. It's just 40 minutes up the road, and they're watching all the young talent that the Atlanta Braves have coming through.
Another pinch hitter for the Braves, Robert Hefflinger. You can always tell when it's getting late in these games, the numbers get bigger and bigger on the jersey. Hefflinger out of Beaufort, Georgia. He's a load. 6'5", 223. Born in 1990. Golly, when I see people doing stuff like playing big league ball, born in the 90s, I feel like I'm getting older and older, Brian. It's just not fair.
I'll tell you what, they're getting bigger and stronger.
Yeah.
Each player, every year.
Well, that's why I have so much admiration for the little guys that can still dominate the game. You know, you've got some out there that are not 6'5" and 2 anything, but they can just flat out hit a baseball. 2 balls, 2 strikes to Hefflinger.
Good fastball by Buckholz right down the screws. This is a chance for the young guys to shine.
Swing and a miss, strike 3 is Buckholz, who just entered the game for the Mets. Gets the strikeout.
Here's a fastball. He just missed one before that and came right back with the same fastball. Just looked like he overpowered Hefflinger right there. He'll be able to get that front foot down and get the head of that bat through the zone.
Easy out number 2.
He's being aggressive. Got that first pitch fastball and drove it to center field.
Taylor Buckholz for the Mets. Those guys battling for spots in the Mets bullpen. Now Martin Prado coming to the plate. 4th time in the order for the Braves. Prado 1 out of 3. And looks at a fastball strike. Martin Prado out of Venezuela. Of course, his regular spot last year was at second, but then had to play a lot of third with the injuries. And now he'll be in left field. And I thought it was an interesting comment by John Sherholtz when he stopped by earlier, talking about the fact that he doesn't think Martin Prado is going to be in left for the rest of his career. There's a very good chance, I think indications are, that once Chipper Jones hangs it up, Martin Prado could be an everyday third baseman.
No question about it. As we also talked about, I just like the way Frank Wren and Freddie Gonzalez handled that situation. Giving Prado a call as soon as they made the trade. Dan Uglin letting him know that they wanted him to play left field and continue his big role as a Brave. And Martin knows he can do it all. It's a lot easier going from the outfield to the infield. I mean, a lot harder coming from the outfield to the infield than infield to the outfield. And he's just a good enough athlete to make that transition.
Takes a look at the 1-2 pitch down low. 2-2 the count to Martin Prado. Just more of the great scouting by the Braves franchise to bring him in. He signed as a non-drafted free agent back in 2001. Hit on the ground to short. It'll be close. Not in time. Not enough on the throw to get Prado, who runs pretty well.
Good hustle by Prado down the line. And good backhand play and a good strong throw by the shortstop. Prado just busting his tail down the line.
15 home runs that Prado hit last year. That's the most he's hit at any level of baseball. He's certainly gotten bigger and stronger with time as his body has developed, and a lot of people think he could hit at least 20 home runs this year.
And you can just see the growth happening in Prado. Each year he just gets better and better.
Nate McLouth looking for his first hit of the day. He had a sacrifice fly in the 5th to drive in a run.
I know the one thing Prado did this offseason is work on his flexibility. Lost a couple pounds, and after hurting his hip at the end of the season, he knew that he had to really get his flexibility, his endurance. And he just continues to find ways to try to get better.
He's one of the most committed guys you'll find.
Exactly.
The year before that, he went on the P90X. He lost about 15 pounds of bad weight. Just leaned down into more of a muscular frame. He's so committed. You never have to worry about a guy like Martin Prado showing up out of shape. Nate McLouth, you know, every time we get a close-up on McLouth, it seems like he's got a smile. Last year, I wasn't sure if he had teeth. Just didn't have a whole lot to smile about. And there was a look of anguish on his face, really, from a year ago when we were here in spring training all the way through the season.
Well, I think everybody was surprised last year, and I remember talking to Bobby about Nate, and Bobby looked at me and said he looks overmatched, and everybody was surprised by that because he'd been successful for a little while with Pittsburgh.
Amos vacuums that up for out number 3. 1 hit, no runs, no errors. At the end of 7, 3-3 your score. Purchase any Braves full season, half season, weekend, or 20-game plan and be automatically entered into daily drawings to win one of 20 spectacular prizes. The sooner you purchase, the more prizes and chances you can win. Prize winners are drawn daily, so purchase today by calling 404-577-9100 or online at Braves.com. With Brian Jordan, I'm Mike Morgan. Glad to be with you here on CSS. Spring training here in Lake Buena Vista, Florida. George Sherrill, the new pitcher for Atlanta. One of the new faces on the Braves roster. You see the numbers on Sherrill thus far this spring. Brian, what do you think the Braves are looking for out of Sherrill this year?
Well, they wanted that veteran left-hander who can give them some innings. He has experience as a closer with Baltimore when he was pretty dominant. And then he went over to L.A. Dodgers and he kind of struggled at that closing spot, and he lost it to Broxton. And he became sort of a setup man. So I think just some protection in that bullpen. You know, he has the experience. He can get it done. And he's just another man in that mix.
Hot shot to second. Conrad. One gone. New center fielder for the Braves. That's actually Harold moving from right to center. So McLouth out of the game. Hayward out of the game. Here's Heflinger in right. So a little bit of the outfield shuffle going on. There's a strike to Neuenhuis. Sherrill last year for the Dodgers 2-2 with a .669 earned run average in 65 games.
If he can return back to that Baltimore Oriole form, I mean, he was dominant with the Orioles. It looked like that fastball had some rods to it, and he just lost that. He just lost it in L.A. And hopefully he will regain it here in Atlanta, and that's what Frank Wren is hoping for. That's why he went out and got him.
Now 2-2 the count. And Sherrill is one of those names that certainly is going to be there for that final reliever spot. Now that's a race that's competitive everywhere, but when you look at how much talent the Braves have coming back in that bullpen, and then you add a guy like Linebrink, I mean, it is ultra competitive just to gather a spot. Check swing and a slow bouncer to Conrad.
Good play by Bush Conrad, a slow roller, and he got rid of that ball quick. Neuenhuis is getting down the line pretty fast.
Well, our Cook's Pest Control inside the numbers, the Yankees, they've made the playoffs 15 of the last 16 years. The Mets have missed the playoffs 9 of the last 10. You can imagine how well that goes in New York if you're a Mets fan. Not too well.
Not too well. All the money that they spent over the past 9-10 years.
That is rubbed in your face on a daily basis if you are a Mets fan. It's no different for those that are huge college football fans, and that's Auburn, Alabama, right there. And you've got a situation when your in-state rival, they've been playing for all the marbles, although they've stumbled a bit in the postseason. They're getting there virtually every year, and the Mets. I'll be honest with you, Brian, in preparing for this game, that stat snuck up on me. Just one playoff appearance in the last 10 seasons for the Mets. Nikias lines out to center, and a quick 1-2-3 inning for Sherrill. Bottom of the 8th coming your way. 3-3 our score. of the 8th about to unfold, a 3-3 game. Want to remind everybody to tune in. Extensive March Madness basketball coverage from our pro and NCAA experts. Mondays get college insight with Brian Alber. Then on Tuesdays, hear the latest in the NBA from Dennis Scott. Sports Night, weeknights at 6 and 11 on CSS. And your special Richmond Spiders correspondent, Brian Jordan, might even stop by. You never know. A slew of changes for the Mets. Chris Shelton in first, Dustin Ryan at catcher, and Friday in center field. Mike Morgan, Brian Jordan with you at Champion Stadium. 3-3 game. Lopez and Mish were the starters. Brooks Conrad a home run for the Braves. And we are deadlocked here in the 8th for the new pitcher for the Mets, Ryota Igarashi. Igarashi 5 games thus far, an 0-1 record, an ERA higher than you would like at over 7. And the batter for the Braves is number 99, Joe Turdo-Salvich. And he looks at a called strike. Again, we'll be with you tomorrow. The Braves back at the ballpark here in Central Florida, taking on the Houston Astros. Houston's had a rough go of it the last few years.
That's a nasty changeup. Yoda. If you're a young guy, I mean, you're up here saying, this is big league pitching coming at me, and I just want to try to put this ball in play.
And Turdo-Salvich frozen on the breaking ball for out number 1.
And Joe just looks at, wow, like a curveball. Anything close as a young guy, you got to be swinging.
Harold-Check, who's now playing center. .510, $175. Another one of those outfielders. Of course, the Braves in pretty good shape with outfielders, particularly with the job that has been put forth this spring by Ramirez. That was kind of the surprise that maybe people weren't expecting. A guy that flew in under the radar last season.
Wilkin Ramirez traded over late in the year, and we got a chance to see him over in Gwinnett. And that's a young man who has showed a lot of power early in his career with Detroit. And last year, we didn't see that, but we saw other intangibles. He can run. He has a strong arm in the outfield. And so far, having a pretty good spring.
He's got the tools. Now it's a matter to show the game. And he has shown it very well in this spring to where he could be one of those 5 outfielders on the opening day roster. Harold-Check grounds out for out number 2. And David Ross looking for his first hit of the day, 0 for 3.
It's going to be an interesting race, Mike, in that outfield. You know, you have the top 3 set with Prado, Jason Hayward, and Nate McLeod. But after that, you know, which way will the Braves go? You got Jordan Schaefer, which I know the Braves would love to see him get some more at-bats and get his confidence going. And Wilkin Ramirez, the pleasant surprise that they brought over last year, who's showing him signs that he can get the job done. And He's a guy that can run fast. He can play all positions. And you have to protect yourself with the backup center fielder if you're going to have a fourth or fifth outfielder. So, and you look at Henske, who played a little bit of outfield for Bobby Cox last year, that could fill in. And that's why it surprises me that, you know, with Brooks Conrad being so versatile, they haven't put him in the outfield just to learn a position, just to play with it, just in case it's a need or, you know, down the stretch. So it's going to be surprised who ends up being the fourth and fifth outfielder.
I think at least now, while some decisions are still going to be tough ones, as Ross puts this one in the gap in left center, diving catch, and a nice play. That is not Pagan. That is one of the new entries for the men. Good job, end of the inning. Back with you here in Central Florida. 3-3 game. The new pitcher for the Braves is Craig Kimbrell, who has pitched very well of late. Got off to a little bit of a sluggish start in spring training. And again, one of the guys fighting for that closer's job. Always an impressive strikeouts per inning number on Craig Kimbrell, no matter what level he's been at, including the big league level last year when he was called up. And a guy that knows a thing or two about Craig Kimbrell and all the other pitchers and this Braves team as a whole is the veteran catcher David Ross, who joins us now. David, how are you?
What's up, Mike? How y'all doing?
We're doing great. I was just saying during the commercial break, the last time I saw you, I was standing with a microphone in the dugout with champagne pouring down. I'm still going to give you that dry cleaning bill, but it's amazing how quickly the off season has flown by. Does it ever just sneak up on you, the start of baseball?
Oh, every year it sneaks up on me. I can't even. I'm so far away from that champagne right now with these last couple of days of spring training. It's a grind right now, but we're having a good time. We got a good club, and I think a lot of the guys are excited about the year we got ahead of us.
David, tell me a little bit about this new look bullpen with the new additions of Sherrill and Linebrick, and we got a race with Venters and Kimbrell. Tell us about them.
What's up, BJ? Yeah, man, they got we got a good young arms down there. I mean, these guys throw hard. They're aggressive. Get a lot of movement on their pitches. I like it. I like the insurance we got in case those guys don't do well. But, you know, with Linebrink and Sherrill and those guys got a lot of experience in closing. And, you know, Liney's been around some of the best with Wagner and Hoffey. And I think he came up with NYN at the Giants. So some of the best in the game. And then you got those guys mentoring guys like Johnny Venters, Craig Kimbrell. We got our studs down there with Peter Moylan and Eric O'Flaherty. So I know we're really excited about all the arms we got down there.
David, talk about late last year when you got the news that you were re-signed and ready to go another couple more years in Atlanta. How good did that make you feel? I know it made a lot of Braves fans and the organization feel awfully good about having you back.
It feels good. You know, I like being here. It's really comfortable for me and my family. I back up a stud and Brian McCann, and I really like the atmosphere that's created around here, a winning atmosphere. It makes my job really easy when I get to catch and catch this pitching staff. And they put a lot of emphasis on catching and pitching, and it makes my job a lot easier when guys support me and give me a lot of respect in the job that I try to do.
When you look at the staff top to bottom, I mean, it was awfully good last season, and then you just think about the extra year for the young guys that Brian alluded to, like Venters and Kimbrel, a great race for the number 5 spot. I mean, you and everybody on the team right now has to feel exceptionally good about this pitching staff in 2011.
We do. I think everybody worked really hard this offseason because of the expectations that we've put on ourselves in the year we had last year, and how close we felt like we were to doing some really good things in the game, barring injury. So when you look at that staff, that's what started it all for us last year. Those guys held us together when we were struggling, and our bats got hot. And you got guys like Huddy and D'Lo. I mean, D'Lo looks sharp like he did at the end of the year last year, and having Jurgens back for the entire season, if he can stay healthy, that's like getting a new number 2, and with the race, like you said, on the back end with Tommy you got Tommy Hansen, and you got Mike Minor and Beach and Lope threw well today, I thought. So, we're excited. We feel like we got, more than enough arms to get us through the season, and really good pitching staff.
David, one more question, man. We know Bobby Cox, and then you got Freddie Gonzalez. And I saw early in the game where you're starting to manufacture runs, trying to get guys over. Is that something that Freddie's really focused on at the end of the spring training?
He's really focused on the details. I think he's a detail-minded manager. Bobby did a little more like letting you play the game. Freddie's a little more small ball and detailed with bunt defenses and getting runners over, like you said. A lot of they've emphasized base running in the spring training and how to pick up the extra base and get us that extra run that we're going to need. So it's a little bit different, but some things the same. We still got great coaches here like Terry Pendleton, Eddie Perez, some guys that have been around, and we really enjoy just the change that we've had is really helped us out.
Well, David, I know we're excited about the start of the regular season. I know you are, and everybody else as well. Thank you so much for the time. Best of luck in 2011.
Thanks for having me on, guys.
Good luck, buddy.
You got it. David Ross, one of the great clubhouse guys, great catchers out there, a guy that could start for so many teams throughout Major League Baseball. What a luxury to have him as a guy backing up, as he called him, a stud in Brian McCann, a perennial all-star. Our Cook's Pest Control Inside the Numbers stats looks at the relief pitchers for the Atlanta Braves, strikeouts per 9 innings. As you just saw, Kimbrel strike out, and he's well over a strikeout inning. Look at that number. Over 10 strikeouts per 9 innings. Doesn't get much better than that. And a nice quick 1-2-3 clean inning for Craig Kimbrel. It's a good sign as we head to the bottom of the ninth. The Braves will try to win it. 3-3 our score. Bottom of the ninth. Braves trying to win it here, avoid extra innings. 3-3 our score. Only 10 hits in this game A home run for each side, including one for Brooks Conrad, and a good time for a last at-bat victory. The Braves, all they did was lead the National League in that category a season ago, 25 ahead of the Reds, Phillies, Rockies, and San Francisco Giants. The thing all of those teams have in common, not surprisingly, they were all either in the playoffs or in the playoff hunt. If you're a team that has a knack of winning games in your last at-bat, chances are good things are going to happen throughout.
Well, you're right. You gain that momentum and that confidence down the stretch.
Freeman blasting one. Center field, but playable. That one dived down shy of the track. Freeman, who homered back on Thursday night to straightaway center. That time just missed it.
Good swing, though, by Freddie Freeman.
Now Brooks Conrad, we talked about how clutch he was in many games last year. He's already got a home run this season, or a home run this game, I should say, the first of the spring for Conrad. A 2-run shot. The Braves would add a run in the 5th after that shot in the 4th. And we've been stuck on 3-3 for the last 4 innings. Fastball hit a mile high down the right field line in the corner and hooking foul. Home run distance and then some.
Oh, man. You better believe these players want to end this game this inning. And you can see that big swing by Brooks Conrad.
This is what we almost saw. That was right-handed, coming earlier in the game in the 4th inning, a 2-run shot. It'd be nice to see Brooksy hit one here from the left side. Send us all home. Two and 1 the count.
I like Brooksy. He's so old school with no batting gloves. He just puts his hands in the dirt and rub them together. He's one of those tough players.
Don't see a whole lot of that anymore.
You don't.
No glove look.
You don't. I want to protect my hands and keep those calluses off, you know.
Conrad, born in San Diego, resides in Arizona, and has found a home in Atlanta. 3 balls and a strike. Good hitter's count right here. You think he'll get a fastball? That's the question.
If he does, he will be hacking. He is not looking for a walk.
Igarashi with the 3-1. And over for a strike. Wow.
Just as I say that.
That was a good
pitch to hack on, too.
It wasn't quite a cookie, but it was close.
Oh, it was close.
Now the payoff to Conrad. Swing and a miss, strike 3.
And that's what happens, 3-1, and you don't swing at that cookie.
Now the last hope, one of the non-roster invitees, Heflinger.
And that looked like just a little curveball on the outer half.
See the frustration with Brooks Conrad. No matter what time of year it is, you got a chance to win a game.
Oh, yes.
You want to do it. Lipka's on deck. He picked up the first hit of his young career in spring training. His very first at bat. A double down the right field line. But Heflinger has got to reach to get Lipka to the plate. Swing and a miss.
Give Ryota a lot of credit. I mean, he is mixing his pitches well, keeping the hitters off balance. He looks pretty impressive.
Now 2 balls and a strike to count. Again, we'll be back with you tomorrow. Same time, same venue. The Braves will take on the Houston Astros. Shot through the hole and into left field.
had to feel good for Robert.
It's the first hit for Hefflinger.
Fastball in the inner half, and was able to turn it. And open some eyes.
Yes. Matt Lipka can open up some more eyes. Maybe a walk-off double here would be nice. Garashi starts him off with a fastball high. Braves trying to improve to 14-7. A couple of ties mixed in.
Good curveball. 76 miles per hour.
And the count now 2 balls and a strike.
The way Lipka is approach, he looks pretty comfortable in the batter's box. Open stance, gets that foot down, that front foot down.
I know Frank Wren was very excited when he was still around by the time the Braves had that draft pick. Supplemental pick. They weren't sure if he would be off the board yet. I really think that this guy has a tremendous amount of potential. A slicer, and that'll reach the seats. What are we looking at rules-wise, Brian, on the potential of an extra inning game? When do they pull the plug?
Well, I think it's a mutual decision on the managers. How many pitchers did you bring? And, usually at the most you may go 1 or 2 innings extra if you have another pitcher down there. If not, they'll just mutually say, let's forget about it.
Call it a day.
Time. Yes. You don't want to take any chances of pitchers going extra, and it's just too early.
Again, the Braves have had that happen a couple of times already with those 2 ties. Lipka with a slightly open stance. Here comes the payoff. Runner goes. Gonna have to throw to first to finish him off. And he does.
Not a good job. Lipka could have been running harder down that line.
So the side is retired. Free baseball here at Champion Stadium. We're back with more in a moment. Top of the 10th about to unfold. It's a 3-3 game, and this is how we got here. Good defense early on by the Braves. Freddie Freeman with Rodrigo Lopez. He was the starter. The scoring got started with a Willie Harris home run in the 4th inning. Nice job defensively by Martin Prado getting used to his new position. Brooks Conrad with a 2-run shot in the 4th inning. At that point, it was a 3-3 game, and that's the way it's been ever since. Some more good defense at Lipka. Sac fly. McLouth with a sacrifice fly, accounting for one of the 3 runs. 7 hits for the Braves, 4 for the Mets, and the new pitcher for Atlanta is Michael Broadway. 3rd outing for him this spring. He's only thrown 3 innings, so limited duty thus far for Broadway. And at this point, you just find anybody that's still available, and each team running out of pitchers. Again, it is a split squad game, so both these teams playing shorthanded.
Man, this is the time of the game where, like you said, it's a split squad. You only bring a certain amount of pitchers, and when they're used, see you later. And I believe probably just one more inning.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they'll put a lid on it after the 10th frame, and hopefully the Braves can pick up a run in the bottom of the 9th. This is Chris Shelton, by the way, at the plate for the Mets, as the bench is empty. Still a couple of veterans in the game for Atlanta. Prado is still in left, and Conrad still at 2nd, and Freeman still at 1st. Everybody else has hit the showers. And we now have received official word. This game will only go 10 innings, so you're looking at the final frame right here. Two-two pitch, swung on and missed. Michael Broadway, 6'5", 210-pounder out of Paducah, Kentucky.
It's just a high fastball. He had some juice on that pitch. Chris Shelton couldn't catch up with it.
Broadway was picked up by the Braves in the 4th round of the 2005 free agent draft. Spent most of his time in Single-A and Double-A. Last year he finally got the call up to Triple-A. Kind of a mixed bag of stats here. He was 4-0 with the Gwinnett Club, but his ERA was 5.73.
Well, that means he probably had one bad outing. He gave up a lot of runs. Pretty dominant in the rest of his appearances. He's just a good-looking pitcher. His frame, 6'5", 6'6", just straight over the top.
Two balls, 2 strikes, the count. Broadway last year made a combined 40 appearances between Double-A and Triple-A. Moves full.
Broadway's leaving a lot of pitches up in the zone.
And a 1-out walk. Broadway resides in Illinois. Signed by Terry Tripp. Good chance he'll start the season off in Triple-A Gwinnett this year. Well, you're going to see some good arms in Double and Triple-A this season. Keep in mind the Braves have already assigned the big 3 that has everybody talking. Ground ball to second, should be 2. 4-6-3 twin killing will send us to the bottom of the 10th. The final hope for the Braves to put another game in the win column. 3-3 our score. We've reached the bottom of the 10th. We know this will be the final inning, so the last chance for the Braves to turn this game from a tie to a victory. It would be the 14th of its kind for the Braves in spring training. The Mets will have a new pitcher on the mound, a left-hander, and Eric Neeson, number 86. And due up for the Braves, Prado, one of the 3 veterans left in this game. He'll start things off at the top of the lineup. And then you got a couple of youngsters following him. So Martin Prado will get a chance to say hello to Eric Neeson. A walk-off would be just fine by everybody in this ballpark.
It sure would, especially those veterans still in the game.
Martin Prado with a couple of hits today, including an infield single his last time up. Prado with that chain dangling over the uniform. And looks at a strike. Prado 2 for 4 today, a .291 average now for the spring. And 100% healthy, which is the most encouraging stat of all.
Eric Neeson, kind of deceiving fastball. There's that little snap motion coming out of that left-hander.
Just doing everything he can to spoil that pitch.
It's kind of tough to pick up when you got that. He's holding it on back, he's snapping it off. He threw a slider.
Now, how hard was it for you when you face a guy like this that Prado's never seen before, maybe doesn't have much of a scouting report at all? You're just...
Oh, it's tough.
You're going in blind, basically.
You are. And you see, Prado is just such a good contact hitter. He's spread out, and all he wants to do is see that pitch and just put the bat on it. He's not trying to hit a home run because you've never seen this guy before. Maybe the second time round, that's when you dig in because you catch on to his motion. And right now, it's a tough motion to catch.
How much going into a game versus a pitcher? I mean, take us through what kind of scouting. You're sitting there with a 3-ring binder and reading top to bottom, and what are you doing as a hitter?
Well, a lot of times the technology is so different now. You have so much video, and I don't care who's pitching. They find that video, a lot of the scouts, and you're able to go in that video room and study that pitcher. You know, try to find some tips or some, keys of what he's doing. And it allows you to go up there with a clue. Like today, Prado seeing this guy probably for the first time, you have no clue. So now you just want to spread out and just see the ball and put the bat on it.
Prado just one defensive swing after the next, but staying alive and making Neeson work. Sucre, one of the backup catchers, is on deck.
He's really trying to gauge his timing against this pitcher. Now he's starting to see the ball a little better.
8th pitch of this at bat to Martin Prado. And he finally chased one out of the zone.
This young kid can call home after the game, say, I struck Prado out on a high fastball. It's an exciting time for a young pitcher like this. He didn't think he was going to be pitching today.
Jesus Sucre. He's been around for a couple years. The Braves in a very good spot at the catcher's position, a luxury that many teams don't have when you talk about McCann, Ross, and then we saw 2 days ago J.C. Boscan, who's already battle tested at the major league level and a terrific defensive catcher.
Sucre 2 for 4 this spring.
The lefty fires and misses outside for ball 3.
I think he's still gloating about that strikeout of Prado. He hasn't found the strike zone since. There it is. Now Sucre, you got to be looking to fastball. 3-1 count.
Popped him up. Everybody converges. It'll be the second baseman's ball. Amos hauls it in for out number 2. So the final hope for the Braves. Joe Terdo Salvage came in the game a couple of innings ago, playing third. If he's unable to keep it alive, we'll settle for a 3-3 tie. And join you again tomorrow, Braves and Astros, 1 o'clock. First pitch swinging, thrower to short, and that'll do it. So the game ends 3-3, the tie, and Brian Jordan, a little bit of everything in this ball game. Some final thoughts.
Well, my final thoughts, Mike. Brooks Conrad, big 2-run shot. Good defensive play by Brooks Conrad early, diving to his right. That's a great sign for the Braves and a great sign for Brooks Conrad. And he's back. Last year is over with, and I'm looking to have a great season. And that's what the Braves are going to need. That utility guy, the backup guys coming off that bench and helping them win this year.
Good game for Conrad. Martin Prado had a couple of hits in this one. Jason Hayward had a ringing double as well. Nate McLeod driving in front of the sac fly as his great spring continues. It's been our pleasure once again to bring you Braves baseball here on CSS. A reminder, tomorrow it'll be the Braves and Astros, 1 o'clock. We will see you then. For my partner, Brian Jordan, and the rest of our CSS crew, this is Mike Morgan saying so long. Sunbelt Baseball is coming up next. We'll see you tomorrow here from Lake Buena Vista.